Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, another show, episode 27, here on this beautiful, sunny uh, evening that it turned out to be, which I don't want to put too much sun in here because it will literally block out my camera if I do that. So that's why I can't wait until the studio's built so I don't have to worry about that anymore. A few more months. Starting the process here soon, so kind of excited for that. So, yeah, episode 27. And we got a jam-packed show tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, I had a big itinerary for tonight. So we've got, we're going to cover a couple things. We're actually going to dip a little bit into the NBA tonight. We're going to talk a little LeBron and LaMelo injuries and what that means to the Lakers, what that means to the Rookie of the Year chase, what that means to basketball product for the foreseeable future for the 2021 draft class. As we all know, LaMelo was really the driving force in a lot of the products. His cards were coming out the gate just in ridiculous secondary market pricing. And just making sure my sound, okay, good. So we're going to discuss that tonight as to what the effect of his injury and how long he's potentially going to be out. So we're going to discuss that tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the local card show this past weekend, and then the upcoming one in Everett, Washington. And then around 6:30 tonight, we're going to have Marc Magaña joining me, and we're going to talk a little bit of NFL free agency, what's been going on. And we're going to particularly focus on the NFC South, which he is my foremost expert in. And we've got, updates on Sports Stuff Hub group breaks. As I announced last week, group breaking for me is back. I will be starting group breaks. I'll have the full details on that here shortly. We'll cover it in a minute. So to start with, actually, before we get into to start with, and then our box break for tonight. We did basketball last week, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was a good product. So I decided to go out on a limb. We're going to rip 2021 certified basketball. So this is going to be our box rip tonight. And I'm going to give away some cards out of here tonight. Woo! Yeah, 2021 certified basketball. So obviously chasing the big rookies, but then also in the graffiti series, one of my favorite sets, and then the Mighty series, and then hopefully we get a good rookie autograph out of this. It's a good product. I like certified every year. The mirror parallels are a lot of fun, and they're just a good product. So that's going to be our rip tonight. I'm excited. It's a fun product. Okay, so getting over to the topics at hand. Okay, so I kind of teased it to open up the show. One of the first things we're going to discuss tonight, something we don't get into a whole lot, but because of the gravity of the situation, is the injuries to LeBron James and LaMelo Ball. It's not often that we see two key injuries happen in such a short period of time. And one of the other things that makes this so significant is, number one, it's the number one rookie in the draft class currently, the front runner for the Rookie of the Year, and then also the potential MVP of the league, as stated by many pundits, and also the fact that the Lakers were a favorite to win the NBA championship. But on top of that, also because of Anthony Davis's injury, which really leaves the Los Angeles Lakers strapped because they don't have their two biggest weapons. So now we're talking about their next biggest weapons being guys like Trez and Kyle Kuzma. and I don't know how well that's going to work for them. They've already lost 2 in a row, including the night that LeBron got hurt. And right now, the Lakers are sitting at 28 and 15, third in the West. So they're not even sitting in first place currently. I believe they're 3.5 or 3 games out. Their next 10 games, including tonight, they're actually playing the Pelicans right now. Their next 10 games would be the Pelicans tonight, the 76ers, the Cavaliers, the Magic, the Bucks, the Kings, the Clippers, the Raptors, the Heat, and the Nets over the next 10 games. And using a 10-game look forward is about the best we can do right now, because there is no timeline, no timetable given for LeBron's return. This could be a 2-week sit. This could be an 8-week sit. This could be him out till the playoffs, if they even make the playoffs at that point. The last time LeBron missed this much time, the Lakers fell 10 games short of the playoffs. That was the 18-19 season, which was his first season with the Lakers. So now the question becomes, can the Lakers backups and the other 3 starters keep them at least 500 over the next 10, 12, 15, 20 games? When does Anthony Davis come back? Will he be back within the next 10 games? One of the downsides to the position they're in right now is the Lakers could actually get pushed out of the playoff picture over the next 10 games. As I mentioned, they're currently at 28 and 15, third in the West, and the number 8 seed currently would be the Mavericks, and they're 5 games behind the Lakers. Not 5 games out of first, they're 5 games behind the Lakers. So if the Lakers slide, which is very easy to do in basketball, you can end up taking a bad slide and all of a sudden you're 10 games out of first, just like in baseball. But all of a sudden the Mavs bump up, and then the Warriors are right behind the Mavs, and the Warriors are only 6 games behind the Lakers. So we could really easily see a complete shift in the standings where the Lakers just drop and drop and drop and drop and drop, and all of a sudden they're sitting, down here, and LeBron James maybe comes back and plays the last 10 games, but can't bring them back. So this time that he's going to miss could potentially be catastrophic for the Lakers season, just because of how vital he is to their success, and the fact that we don't know how long Anthony Davis is going to be out as well. So we could be seeing a 10-game, 12-game, 15-game slide from the Lakers. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win, I'm not saying they're going to lose all of them. But the majority of them, I could see them over the next 10 games. 76ers, Cavs, Magic, Bucks, Kings, Clippers, Raptors, Heat, Nets. Let's be realistic here. They're playing the Pelicans tonight. They're going to lose to the Pelicans. I'd be surprised if they don't. 76ers, going to beat them. Cavs, I don't see anybody stopping Sexton and Garland at this point. For the Lakers, I mean. I could see them maybe beating the Magic. They're not going to beat the Bucks. They could beat the Kings, so there's 2 wins. They're not going to beat the Clippers. The Raptors have been on a slide. They could potentially beat the Raptors. They're not going to beat the Heat, and they're not going to beat the Nets. So over the next 10 games, 3-7, maybe 4-8, or 3-7 or 4-6 at best. And if that happens, and the Mavs and the Warriors ball out over the next 10 games, Lakers are out of the playoffs at that point. So this could be absolutely catastrophic for this season for the Lakers. So I'm I can't wait to see a report finally that shows how long LeBron is going to be out, and then also when they can expect AD back, because AD is going to be a huge key for them being able to resume being able to win again. They're not going to win with the roster that they have currently. Even if they make a trade or two before the deadline, who is going to want to go and that's a difference maker and then get benched as soon as LeBron and AD come back? I mean, that's, to me, that just seems a little. I don't know any stars, any difference-making stars that would want to do that. It just doesn't seem like a good plan. Switching gears over to the LaMelo side of it. Obviously, for the Hornets, this isn't as big of a issue in terms of a championship chase, but LaMelo was kind of their best player. He was their best young player, I should say, because they have had a few guys this year who have balled out extremely well. LaMelo was a good shot at keeping them with a playoff push, of making the playoffs, and then they could potentially be the Cinderella story. I just don't see them running deep into the playoffs. Now, with LaMelo out, I got a sneaking suspicion that's going to bump them out of playoff contention. But if they do happen to make it into the playoffs, I did see a report today that LaMelo's surgery was a success on his wrist. And there's potential that he could make it back in time for the playoffs. That's a stretch, number one. And number two, will they even be in playoff contention, or will they even have a shot at the playoffs? And would it be worth to rush him back if they're not going to make the playoffs? At this point, I would almost say they would be smart to rest him, let him be, let him come back healthy next season. You don't want to risk messing up his wrist by pushing him back too fast, because then he could be out a period of time next year as well if you push him back for no reason. Now, if they were in a championship hunt, whole different story. That's a potential championship ring for him. Now, on the flip side of just the team side of it, now we're talking Rookie of the Year chase. Does this bump LaMelo out of being a Rookie of the Year contender? Now we have guys like Tyrese Halliburton and Anthony Edwards who have been balling as of late. Especially Edwards has been hitting 40-plus points, high 30s multiple times. Now, granted, the Timberwolves still suck and they can't win games, but Anthony Edwards has been a scoring machine and playing very well, except for last night he had shot 30% or something like that. Bad game for him, but it happens. Now, everybody doesn't have a career 40-point night. So now the question is, though, is LaMelo's body of work for the half of the season good enough to keep him in Rookie of the Year contention? And that's the other reason why he might come back at the end of the season, is to solidify his Rookie of the Year campaign. How much does that mean to him? Never talked to the kid. I don't know. But I can imagine that is a healthy discussion that he's having with his family. So now we're going to switch gears for a second on the LaMelo side, and we're going to discuss what a LaMelo Ball long-term injury does to the hobby, because we also blend our sports show with the hobby, obviously, because most of the people watching the show are card collectors. LaMelo missing the second half of the season, is that going to bring down the prices of this year's hobby boxes? We've all seen dramatic price increases on product this year. One of which being, if I got it right here, one of which being Donruss basketball. When this hit shelves, or excuse me, when pre-order pricing came out, Donruss basketball was being listed at $1,200 a box. Now, this is not LaMelo related. This is just the fact that this is not a premium product that should require a $1,200 purchase. These boxes are down in the $800 to $900 range, or potentially even cheaper. So these have already come down pre-LaMelo Ball injury. Now, one of the other big things that just hit pre-order price a couple weeks ago, as we've discussed on this show, was Prizm basketball. And with Donruss coming out at $1,200 a box, a lot of guesswork involved in what was Prizm going to be priced at. Well, we got an answer a couple weeks ago. $2,500 a box seemed to be the general consensus through a lot of the big retailers. So we spent the last 2 weeks seeing all the large retailers online post pre-order prices at $2,500 a box. Now, I for one, and I know a number of viewers, thought that was absolutely absurd. $2,500 a box. Now, if a LaMelo Ball base rookie is going to cost, or is going to resell consistently for $800, and a silver is going to be $2,000, okay, you might have a leg to stand on there with that price. But I highly doubt that was going to be the case. So let's fast forward now to 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whatever it was. LaMelo Ball gets hurt. Questions. What's going to happen with Rookie of the Year? What's going to happen with Charlotte? What's going to happen with LaMelo? Is he going to come back? What's going to happen to hobby prices? Take this as you will, whether or not this is related. Today, this morning, Panini had their Dutch auction for first off the line Prizm basketball. I know a lot of you guys watched it. I sure as heck did as well. The starting price for the Dutch auction over a 2-hour Dutch auction was $4,500. Okay? The bottom out price after 2 hours was set to be $2,000 per box. After 2 hours of an auction, the price dropped to $2,000 a box. And this is for first off the line. First off the line typically carries a premium over standard hobby boxes because of the exclusives that come with it. A low-numbered parallels, low-numbered exclusives, only in the first off the line product. And it bottomed out at $2,000. Now, it did say before the timer ran out that it was sold out. But was that Panini trying to save face and pulling it? Because a pretty common thought is that when stuff does not sell out, or they don't even sell it out anyways, they dump it to the large breakers and the large online retailers because that's a deal that they have cut. Is that the case? Could be. I don't know. I don't work for any of them, and I don't work for Panini, and I don't see that, so I don't know. But it could be the case. So the product dropped at $2,000. So now here's the question. If the hobby boxes were pre-selling at $2,500 prior to today, and first off the line is a product that commands a premium, what does that do to the hobby box prices? Now the downside to this is we will never know just how low first off the line would have gone, because a true Dutch auction has no floor. Panini style Dutch auctions, they put a cap at the bottom so it can't go under a certain price, which is bullshit, and they need to change that because that's not a Dutch auction. They should call it what it is. It's just a reverse auction with a reserve. So what does that do to a hobby box price? Does that take a $2,500 pre-sale box and turn it into $1,800? $1,700? $1,500? Where does it go? I can tell you that if the large retailers that currently have it up at $2,500 don't adjust their pricing, they're not going to sell any. because first off, the line wasn't going to sell at $2,500. The hobby boxes aren't going to sell at $2,500 going forward. And I guarantee you the people who put in their deposit for $2,500 for a hobby box are probably screaming at those retailers asking for a refund. I would like to see it come down to about $1,500 a box. It would be fantastic to see it hit at least that low. But I don't really think it's going to jump below $1,500 a box. Now, then beyond that, we have a number of other products that are coming out. We have Absolute Memorabilia basketball that comes out tomorrow, and that was a pre-order of, $600, $700, $800, $900 on several sites. So, are we going to see that take a tumble now with LaMelo hurt? Are we going to see, when National Treasures basketball releases? Football National Treasures comes out in less than a month. And there already are retailers who have put up football National Treasures at almost $5,000 per box, between $4,500 and $5,000 per box. That's for football. Basketball has been almost double what football products have been, price-wise. So are you telling me that basketball National Treasures is going to be $10,000 per box? Get the hell out of here. I don't know who's going to be able to afford that. I don't think breakers are going to be able to afford breaking the product, because their customers aren't going to be able to afford breaking the product. So, LaMelo Ball injury potentially plummets some product for the meantime, but if he comes back, and regardless when he comes back next year, as long as he plays and he doesn't have any long-term effects for his wrist, I would expect products to come back up. But you're also going to see some of the other rookies step up as well. By the end of the season, we're going to have a little bit more information on just how good Wiseman and Edwards and Halliburton and Bay and Toppin and all these guys are. We'll know way more about them then than we do today. But, look at the 2013-2014 NBA draft class. I've had this conversation with a number of people. How many years did it take before Giannis was considered to be a top 5 player in the NBA, top 10 player in the NBA? Are we going to see the same thing where we're going to have a player or two come out of this draft class that, maybe we thought, oh, well, outside of LaMelo and Wiseman and Anthony Edwards, we don't have anybody else, and all of a sudden here comes, late first round, early second round pick, and boom, explosion of value, and all of a sudden 2021 product becomes unattainable again. So it's going to be definitely something to keep your eyes on. But if you are a buyer of basketball product, I would definitely be watching your markets. Be watching what product is doing, so that you can potentially scoop it up when it hits the target price that you want to. Like I said, I don't think it's going to submarine a tremendous amount, but I do believe it will come down. It has to. If LaMelo cards drop in value, there's no way the box prices can continue to climb. It's just not feasible, unless Anthony Edwards or Halliburton's values all of a sudden just explode and carry the torch. I don't see it happening. All right, switching gears a little bit more. Local card show recap. So this past weekend we had the Auburn Outlet Card Show, Twin Oaks Card Show, and it was fan-freaking-tastic. 100 plus tables set up, and it was amazing. I had customers tell me that there had to have been at least 1,000 people that attended the show spread out throughout this mall. They had it teed off in one area, well, actually technically 2 areas of the mall, and it was spectacular. The largest card show we've seen in the state of Washington in well over 5 years, and it lived up to the hype. Yeah, it was amazing. If you missed that show, we are going to have another Twin Oaks card show in Everett, Washington, at the Everett Mall. And that show is going to be not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, which is Easter weekend on the 3rd. Originally, that show was billed as being a 2-day show, and it was going to be first day sports cards, second day comics. That has now changed to being a 1-day show because the Everett Mall decided that they were not going to have their doors open on Easter Sunday. So Everett Mall show is only a 1-day show. Please update your schedules and your calendars accordingly if you were planning on going on Sunday. It will not be open on Sunday. So Saturday, the day before Easter, I believe that's the 2nd or the 3rd. I will check my calendar real quick. That would be the 3rd, Saturday, April 3rd. It is listed on our website, but you can always check the Twin Oaks website, which is 100% up to date as well. That's Twin Oaks Card Show or TwinOaksShows.com, or go to SportsStuffHub.com. Go to the events tab. We tie to their website so you can see it. Okay. Get to some comments real quick. Hello, everybody. And Jordan asks, my question is, are people going to cancel pre-order of hobby boxes now? Fantastic question, Jordan. If I were somebody who bought a $2,500 box and first off the line sold at what it did, 100% would ask. Now, granted, the caveat to this, nobody pre-orders that far in advance for full price. Normally, you put a deposit down. A lot of these large retailers ask you to put a 10% deposit down or a $100 deposit down, depending on what they do, and then they bill you when it shows up. So, but if I was somebody who bought a $2,500 box, hobby box of Prism basketball, and first off the line did what it did today, I would call the guy that I ordered the box from and be like, hey, what are we going to do about this? Are we going to, it hasn't come out yet, so, technically your pricing's not live anyways. Yeah, and if I was a retailer who was selling it at that price, I would adjust my pricing. I would. If I put up on my website yesterday, Prism basketball at $2,500 a box, and first off the line did what it did today, I would do it. I would be selling them at $1,800 at this point until we know more. But I would in no way, shape, or form hold somebody to $2,500 for that hobby box. That's just ridiculous and unrealistic expectations. Moving forward here, Tony, your area had the best cluster of quality tables, completely packed the whole time. Yes! That's what I strive for, Tony. I ask, we do kind of build a community of vendors all in one area, and not trying to disparage anybody else, but a lot of us have known each other for a number of years, and so it's nice to be able to be around each other because we can then trust each other to watch tables if something were to happen. So and I like hearing that I'm in a good area, and I like the compliments. Thank you very much, Tony. Yeah, it was a fantastic show. But yes, tune in a couple of weeks, and we've got the Everett show. We do have some more announcements I'm going to get into in a little while. We have some break info that I'm going to get to after our guest tonight. And I see he just jumped on, and I think we're ready to go. Let me make sure I've got my notes handy. Because we are going to dive deep. And I've got some notes that I want to make sure that we get discussed. All right. Let me get this on so I can actually hear him. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who is a frequent traveler to Africa, saving the world, one person at a time. The largest Buck fan I know, ladies and gentlemen, Marc Magaña.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. What an introduction. I love it. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
And welcome, I might be the only Bucks fan, huh? couple here and there spattered, mixed in with the rest of the NFL fans.
You might actually be the only Bucks fan I know.
I'm telling you what, man. I'm the only one in California, that's for sure. I shouldn't even say that. I got a couple guys out here that are fans, but yeah.
But hey, you know what? Whether you're the only or you're one of many, you're still the biggest.
Oh, yes, this is very true. This is very true. Can't take that away from me, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, welcome. It's good seeing you again, man, and I appreciate you being on tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Excited to get back on. And I wanted to, if I could, I wanted to kind of get into, I was listening to your conversation where you're talking about the Lakers. You mind if I say my little bit about the Lakers? Am I good?
Go
okay.
For it. Floor is yours,
I know you. I know I got the Bucks right here, and then the Lakers over on the left, the MVP. So I got some, connection. No, I was just gonna say that with the LeBron injury, I know it's a scary time for the Lakers for sure. But I was just gonna bring up this point. I brought it up on my podcast, and I was saying that basically the idea that with the way that it's formatted right now, as a Laker fan, even if LeBron does miss extended time and they end up at a 6 seed, at a 5 seed, at a 7 seed, if I'm the rest of the NBA, how scared am I to play the Lakers as a 7 seed or the Lakers as a 6 seed? And I think the benefit that the Lakers have is that although they would miss out on that home court advantage, LeBron and AD have been in the league long enough to where I don't know if it even really affects them, right? I mean, shoot, the bubble, we didn't even have home court advantage, and that's obviously due to the global situation at the time. But I was just pointing out on my podcast that although I'm concerned, I'm not jumping off the ship yet. Still feel good. Still feel like the Lakers in the championship this year, sincerely. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up and just kind of throw my 2 cents in there. I just heard you talking about it, so.
and I agree wholeheartedly with that. If the Lakers come in with both AD and LeBron back,
yeah,
and they come into the playoffs as even an 8,
right,
they're going to be the scariest 8 team in NBA history, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But what I'm more curious about is, because there's no timetable for them at the moment.
Yeah.
So what happens if, the next 10 games, they fall out of playoff contention completely? Because the current 8 and 9 are the Mavericks and the Warriors. Mavericks at 8 and Warriors at 9. Mavericks are 5 games behind the Lakers.
Yeah.
Warriors are 6 games behind them.
Right.
Well, if we're talking over the next 10, including tonight's game against Pelicans, if we're talking they go 3 and 7, excuse me.
Right. Falling out of the picture completely. Yeah.
And that's more where I'm concerned with their potential for the playoffs with LeBron and AD coming back, because we still don't even know when AD's going to be back. AD comes back, they could easily go 500 over any stretch. But without both of them, are they a 2 and 8 team? Are they a 7 and 3 team? Over the course of the next 10 to 12 games, 13, how many games are left in the season?
Right.
They could get bumped out completely with no shot at resurrecting that, even after LeBron.
Even if LeBron does come back. Right. Yeah, and I guess I see your point there too. I guess it's concerning, but I guess where I would lay my hope, and maybe it's misguided hope, maybe it's misplaced hope, but I think that the second unit, with some of the guys, just the leadership that they have, LeBron and AD having been around them, I kind of feel like they can step it up. And I guess if we had to guess, if they do go 3 and 7, big problem. I can see what you're saying, but I would hope and assume that they would stay close to 500. And I think that would be my assumption. That's what I'm basing my hope on, I guess. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, you're right. It could get ugly real fast if they go 3 and 7, 2 and 8, and then LeBron does come back. And then, with the high ankle sprain, you never know. Those are really, really sensitive. They can re-injure themselves really easily, especially with the way that LeBron plays so much above the rim. Still at this age, he's still getting up a lot, and it requires that. His game still requires that. So it could be, a serious injury, and we'll have to see how long AD is out too. That's the other big question too. Because if AD comes back in 3 games, then we're not even having this conversation. Right. But if if it takes him 10 and 15, 20, X amount of games left in the season, then yeah, I get where you're concerned for sure.
Yeah, and really when it boils down to it, the next 10 games are a really tough schedule for them.
Yeah,
because
that
it's
was a tough
literally
schedule.
Pelicans right now, 76ers, Cavs, Magic, Bucks, Kings, Clippers, Raptors, Heat, Nets.
Yeah, you got to beat the quote unquote bad teams in there. You got to. You don't have a choice. You know, it's not like you can't lose to a Cavs team. You know, you can't lose to a Cavs team and then hope to be okay. So you got to take that Cavs game. It was 25-22 last I saw with the Pelicans game tonight. So we'll see how that one goes. But you got to take those games that are there for sure.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, I don't foresee them beating the 76ers without LeBron and AD.
No,
they're not going to take down the Bucks. They're not going to take down the Clippers. Raptors have been sliding, so that's doable.
Right.
But I don't see them beating the Heat without LeBron and AD.
Yeah, that one's a tough one too. I don't know if I see that. Hey, you know, it could be a toss up. The Heat have been kind of on and off. My first my initial impression would be no, they don't beat them. But the Heat have had some troubles early on in the season. You know, they look better, but yeah, my first impression, like you said, would be that they don't beat the Heat either. So
yeah, and then wrapping up that 10-game stretch against the Nets.
Yeah, that one's not happening.
Yes, and KD's supposed to be back by then too.
Okay, yeah.
So if you're talking a KD, Kyrie, Harden, and then apparently Blake Griffin is supposed to be healthy by then too. Yeah. So
what a game! What a game that'll be. That'll be top-notch television.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, so let's get over.
Sorry to take you off course there. Sorry, I had
no worries.
Throw my Lakers on there.
Hey, talking sports is talking sports in my book.
Exactly.
So let's get over to NFL free agency.
Yeah.
It has been an absolute whirlwind.
It has.
And some surprise signings, some surprise cuts, and some teams retooling, other teams doing what they typically do in free agency and just kind of sit back and twiddle their thumbs while everybody kind of does the meme stick poke, do something,
yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, you got teams like, quite literally, there are teams that haven't made a dang move yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's funny because we're going to go through, mostly we're going to cover the NFC South here.
Yeah.
And I want to start off with this one. And I got a little kick out of this one. Today, can you read the screen?
I can, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I didn't quite know if I had it big enough so you could actually see it.
Oh, no, I see you. Mm-hmm.
The announcement of Mike Davis signing with the Falcons.
Yeah.
I like that signing.
Yeah.
Mike Davis really stepped up in Christian McCaffrey's absence last year.
Yeah.
And he was a running back when he was with the 49ers, when he got drafted. And the first time that he actually got some playing time with the Niners, I was like, God dang, this kid's good.
He's actually good, yeah.
And then they just never moved him into a role where he got any kind of substantial playing time.
Right.
And he goes 2 seasons with them, gets cut, picked up by the Seahawks, has 4 games where he played for him, and he had that brutal stiff arm in that one game, and he just looked like a beast. And I'm sitting here going, oh crap, Seahawks, they might have found their running back. And then they cut him. And then he ends up with the Panthers.
Right.
And just his luck, ends up playing time again because the starter goes down, which has been the story of his career. And then he just balled out last year.
Yeah, he played really well.
And watching him play last year, I was like, he's going to get signed, and he just earned every penny of that contract that he got. And then he goes within the division, as he did from going from the 49ers to the Seahawks. Now he goes Panthers to Falcons. And by all accounts, I would almost put him in a starting day running back.
Yeah, you would think so. You would think so. And like you said, he did play really well for the Panthers. He's always been that, like you said, kind of pointed out, that spot starter guy, but he gives you good minutes. I'm sure a lot of people remember him too from fantasy. Even if you didn't necessarily follow Mike Davis with the Panthers, you picked him up in fantasy and you were using him because he was giving you some numbers. He was getting those goal line carries. He was, he's not a super dynamic back. He's not a guy that's going to, shift side to side, really bounce around in the gaps. But he gives you tough yards. He can catch the ball. He really does everything fundamentally right, and that's why he's still got a spot in the league after having been on multiple teams. So that's a good signing for the Falcons. I think it's going to be how he works in with the new offense. Obviously, whatever the head coach is bringing over, the way that he wants to do that, obviously. But he's a football player, and coaches like football players, and he'll definitely have a role there with the Falcons. And starting day one isn't, I don't think, too much of a stretch.
No, I don't think so. And I don't really see anybody in the Atlanta depth right now to really supplant him as the running back starter.
Right.
Unless something miraculous happens in camp and somebody just balls out. But we also don't know what's going to happen with the draft, though, too, because, if Atlanta's got a high draft pick, higher, let's say, and Najee Harris could be sitting there. So,
and if all the quarterbacks are gone and they're not interested, or they're not interested in a quarterback, then maybe that's something you look back, or I guess the last high overall back was Ezekiel Elliott, right, at 4 for the Cowboys. Was it 4 or 5? So I don't know. Is Najee Harris that guy? I'm not sure, but that could absolutely be a consideration, because at the very least, he's really good. He's a really good football player too, Najee Harris.
Well, and then we had Saquon Barkley a couple of years ago, number 2 overall.
Oh yeah, Saquon.
So, but it's getting few and far between that we see a running back go in the top half of the first round. I mean, it's just not really happening that often.
Yeah, and I thought Ezekiel was a stretch, and he had some really good years, but I thought he was a little bit of a stretch at 4. And Saquon, I really like him, but I just, if I was a GM of a team, I'm not, of course, I'm sitting here in my chair talking to you, but if I was the GM of drafting a running back in the top 5 would be real tough for me. I mean, he'd have to be, and I don't even know if Saquon feels that, you know what I mean? And I think Saquon's a great player, but I don't even know if Saquon feels what my expectations would be to draft the running back top 5. So, but yeah.
If I was looking at it and I'm a GM, it would depend on the situation of my O-line.
True enough, yeah.
And I beat this drum to a point that I pissed off a lot of Browns fans back in 2018 when Baker Mayfield went 1 overall, that I did not believe that they should draft Baker Mayfield at the time, and I thought they should have gone Saquon number 1. And that didn't have anything to do with Baker Mayfield's talent, and I'm on the record saying that. It's not that I believed that Baker Mayfield was a flop. I didn't believe that the Browns were secure for a quarterback at the time, and they really weren't, because that first season, yes, he ended the season throwing a lot of touchdowns, but they also were, he was running for his life at times. But I thought they were set up perfectly for a really good run game, which turned out to be the case because of their draft pick and Nick Chubb having an absolute monster year and has been a beast ever since. I personally think that Saquon was a better running back than Chubb, and you put Saquon, that kind of beast, behind the Browns O-line.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah. And that's, the tough part with that, because that seems to happen a lot nowadays with quarterbacks. Certain teams drafting quarterbacks too high when their offensive line situation isn't right, or their offensive coordinator situation isn't right, whatever the case. And they get overdrafted. That's why every year it's almost a guarantee to go 1 and 2. Not always, but relatively, it's always a guarantee to go 1 and 2, because teams are telling, GMs are telling their coaches, hey, look, man, we got 2 years. So you got to either find the guy, or we're both gone here, And I feel like I wish that more teams were patient with their GMs, with their coaches. Teams move on so quickly, and I don't know, obviously it's money, primarily, but, to rebuild an NFL team, it's not a 1-year job, man. I mean, it's not just, you get 7 picks and then all of a sudden you're contending for the playoffs. It takes multiple years to do it correctly. And if you do it correctly, you can have successful teams, but it takes multiple years, and it takes patience, and it takes picking the right guy, and, moving back and really not getting caught up with the flashy thing. And sometimes that's what I think people, find in these quarterbacks. Oh, flashy Baker Mayfield, swagger, all this, got to take him, got to do it. And like you said, it's not necessary, hindsight's 20/20, right? But, looking at that situation now, like you said, maybe Saquon was the pick, or maybe trade back if somebody, because, people are gone for these number 1 overalls. So, hey, take 3 first-rounders, trade back, get you a Saquon at 4, 5, or 6, and then get you an offensive lineman, get you a, whatever it is that your team needs, something to build that core. But we I think in the modern NFL, teams tend to overdraft, quarterbacks early on.
Correct. And you brought up a fantastic point that before we're done tonight, we're going to circle back to that whole point that you just brought up there. So remind me of that before we kick it tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
Because that's a huge point that I want to talk about. I actually even pointed some stuff out on Twitter earlier today that I want to bring up. So let's keep going with the AFC South real quick.
Yeah.
So on top of that, they made a trade for tight end Lee Smith with Buffalo.
Yeah.
Not exactly a game-changing tight end. He's more of a blocking tight end, and I kind of think that was a good trade for them, especially now with going with Mike Davis.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, then they signed Brandon Copeland, linebacker. Again, not a game-changing linebacker, but good depth. But the next one is the one that I kind of like this one, Barkevius Mingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like that because not only is it depth for them, but he's a starting caliber linebacker.
Right. Yeah.
So Falcons defense right there just got a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Eric Harris, safety that they signed. I don't know a whole lot about Eric Harris, but by all accounts, some of the stuff I read about him, he's a on the cusp starting caliber, but he's still fairly young. So could be a good pickup for him. Depends on what they get out of him.
Yeah. 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 And I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I think by their moves too, I think you can kind of see that, Arthur is kind of taking it a little slower, and really just, I think what they're saying with some of those moves is they out of holes, right? They didn't go out and go sign all of these guys. They didn't go out, they're saying, hey, you know what? We're going to get some depth pieces. We're going to take the guys that we got on the team. We're going to take the number 4 overall pick that we have, and we're going to build from there, which I think, is a positive sign. And I kind of agree with it. I don't think the Falcons have some holes, but they don't have as many holes as their record would lead you to believe from last year. I do have a lot of coaching, injuries over the past couple of years have really hurt them as well. There's some talent on that roster, and obviously, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, and Matt Ryan. You tell anybody, and any NFL GM, they can have those 3 guys and they'd be ecstatic. So I think that's a great start for them, and then going to get those depth pieces. Just like you said, they're not game changers, but they're going to give you good minutes. And I would agree with you that Mingo would be the best of that group. And then possibly that Lee Smith. A lot of people don't like a trade for a blocking tight end, but you know what? They traded a 7th rounder for him. And who are you going to draft in the 7th round that is going to equal that type of? I mean, it's a 7th rounder. Those guys are usually quote unquote camp fodder, right? Those guys get cut in camp. So I have no problem with it.
Yeah, if he's a second and short tight end, and he's on the field for 35% of the snaps, Show me a seventh rounder that's going to be on the field 70% of snaps, or that many snaps. So
yeah,
that I thought was a good one. So jumping over to the Panthers, David Moore, the surprise wideout from the Seahawks, who had a couple of good games this last season. That was potentially a good signing for them.
Yeah.
He's a sneaky good receiver. He didn't really get all the attention and all the love with the media, a lot because he was behind Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, the absolute genetic freaks. So,
yeah.
He kind of got overlooked a little bit, but this could be a good signing for them. Their wide receivers have been so unreliable over the last few years.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this turns out. Now, granted, with the coach that they've got now, Matt Rule.
Yeah.
Kind of changing the way the offense goes a little bit, and obviously Teddy Bridgewater did not fit this last year.
Mm-hmm.
The question's going to be, is Bridgewater going to be the guy this year?
Yeah.
Are they going to draft somebody, or are they going to trade? There's been talks that Bridgewater's being shopped. There's been talks that they're going to go quarterback in the first round. And if they do end up with a Trey Lance or a Mac Jones who's been tied to conversations with them already, or potentially even Justin Fields falls to them, who ends up starting, and how long is it until said rookie quarterback supplants Teddy Bridgewater?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, an 0-4 start, does that push Matt Rule to make a change?
Yeah. I think it does for sure. Yeah. And you know what though, this is kind of the thing too. This gets into a whole nother conversation when you get into this conversation about quarterbacks. The NFL is in favor of starting a lot of these guys early. I would hope if I'm obviously a Bucs fan, not a huge Panthers fan, to say the least, but I would hope that, an organization like the Panthers would be smart enough to understand if you do draft a Justin Fields, a Trey Lance, Mac Jones even, hey man, let those guys sit. Let those guys sit. There's no need to rush them on there. And often we see these teams that have, because Teddy Bridgewater, he struggled a little bit here and there, and he has been kind of a spot starter throughout his career, but it's enough. It's enough to get you out there and let Mac Jones, Trey Lance, insert name, learn behind him. He's been in the league. He's been in enough offenses. Let him learn behind Teddy Bridgewater and give him a year to sit there and understand everything. But a lot of NFL teams and now it goes back to what we were talking about. They'll push those guys out there after 3 games. They lose by a field goal in week 3, and on comes Mac Jones in week 4, and that can really hurt a quarterback's development. So I'm a strong proponent of letting guys sit, but we'll see how that plays out for them. And if they end up taking a quarterback, which, is another question.
Yep. And that was one thing that I've said, everybody knows I'm a big NDSU guy. I went to NDSU, and I love watching games, and I love the staff, and I love the players. Huge supporter of Carson Wentz, and I'm looking forward to him getting a new start in Indy. But even with Carson Wentz being as good as he was early in his career, I even said it coming into the draft that I didn't want him to go early in the draft. And when the Eagles traded up to get him, I was like, oh yes, he can sit behind Sam Bradford. And then they go and trade Sam Bradford to the Vikings, and I was like, oh my God, let him learn for a year, let him sit for a year, develop him, and then bring him in. And I was like, yeah, that's not what I wanted them to do. Does your screen freeze? I think we lost Mark, guys. Uh-oh. It looks like we lost Mark for a moment. Yep, we did. So I'm assuming he'll jump back on here shortly. It looks like our side of it was fine. Mark, there he is.
Hey Ryan, sorry about that.
No worries at all. That's the thing I love about being able to switch screens quick is it freezes for you, and I'm like, okay, change
screen, yeah, and then I'm sitting there like, So you were saying, sorry about that. You were saying Carson Wentz, you didn't want him to go early, and then the Eagles drafted him.
Yes, yeah. So just to recap that, so I mean, I as much as I loved Carson coming out of college, the best benefit that I saw, especially, he came out of a pro offense, but he comes from a small school. So the first thing that I said was, I would love to see him sit for a year and develop and learn and whatnot. And so then the Eagles traded up for him to the number 2, and I was like, Sam Bradford is the starter there. He can learn for a year. He's good. And then they trade Bradford to the Vikings, and I was just like, son of a, now he's going to end up as the starter. And
right.
So, and that was one thing that I do like about the situation Easton Stick is in, is that he wasn't brought in to be the starter. He was a 4th-round draft pick for the Chargers, and now I was hoping he was going to get a chance after Tyrod Taylor. And then the Chargers turn around and draft Justin Herbert, who looks like he could potentially be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL over the next 5 years. So
yeah, he did. He looked fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm already kind of putting sticking a fork in the Easton Stick days with the Chargers, because he's not going to get a shot there, and I don't expect him to try to supplant Justin Herbert. So, but the time he spends there is valuable.
Invaluable for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
He is and he is a dynamic quarterback as well. If anybody got to watch his preseason stint with the Chargers before, his rookie season, dude is electric. So I mean, I always tell people go back and watch the North Dakota State highlights from his last year, but it kind of doesn't quite do it justice because he is, playing at North Dakota State. Go look at his on-field comparison or on-field game film for the preseason. The kid's good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and I would say the same thing with Trey Lance. I would love to see Trey Lance go to a quarterback needy team, but at the same time, I'm a big Dan Orlovsky fan, and I love watching Dan Orlovsky break down quarterbacks and break down game film. And he did a breakdown of the 2019 FCS championship game between North Dakota State and JMU, James Madison.
Yeah.
And he broke down pretty much every throw of Trey Lance's during that game. And this was a game where he didn't just light up the scoreboard. This was against a very tough JMU team, and he pointed out some mechanics flaws and whatnot in Trey Lance's throwing and his game, and it was fantastic because he still looks amazing, but again, he's playing at the college level at the time, so he needs to correct a few of those things.
Yeah.
Also, Quincy Avery is his quarterback training coach since he left North Dakota State to go to the draft, and Quincy Avery even chimed in on social media and was like, telling you, we've been working on all that stuff. So Trey Lance's pro day rolls around 2 weeks ago, and you can tell the crispness, that what he cleaned up, his steps, his dropbacks, his it was all coming
the things
together.
That were pointed out, kind of thing. Yeah. Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully we get a preseason this year, even if it's 2 games, and I want to see in game speed how these mechanics have adjusted for him.
Right.
And we completely got off topic.
No. Hey, Trey Lance is a potential for the Panthers, right?
True.
And I think that's kind of what you're getting at. And I think you're right. I think if he can go to a team that's quarterback needy, quote unquote, but has somebody to sit behind, and that's what you're pointing out, and that's the Panthers. I mean, that's who jumps to mind. Quarterback needy, but has somebody to sit behind. And a guy like Trey Lance really fits well there because he maybe doesn't have the same type of experience that a guy like Mac Jones, who played at Alabama, would, right? I mean, and that's not necessarily an indictment on him. It's just, NDSU compared to Alabama and that, the opponents that they played, you know what I mean? So I think you're right on. I think you're spot on with what you're saying there.
Well, I appreciate you saying I'm spot on something. Oh, so moving forward with the Panthers, Dan Arnold, tight end, they signed him. Don't know much about Dan Arnold. I'm trying to think of where he came from.
Last I knew he was on the Saints, but that may have been a team or two ago. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. They did bolster their offensive line a bit. Cam Irving, offensive tackle, and Pat Elfine, guard. I don't know much about Elfine. I know he, from when I was digging into him a little bit, he was a 4th, 5th, 6th year player.
Yeah.
Sound more like it was more for offensive line depth, not necessarily for starting quality. But then they bolstered their defense a little bit. Defensive lineman Morgan Fox, Denzel Perriman, Hassan Reddick, which I like that signing. I like Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
And then Rashawn Melvin on the back end. So it almost seems like we're potentially getting, because the combo of Perriman and Reddick, almost like they're going Panthers of 5-6 years ago when they had Kuechly and Thomas Davis.
Right.
And it's almost like they're trying to bring back some of that defensive dominance that they had of just a handful of years ago. And if they can get back to that type of defensive performing football, they don't need Teddy Bridgewater or whatever quarterback it is to be a 4,000 yard, 35 touchdown quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, defense wins championships, right? And that's I still believe and hold to that. I mean, we saw it even most recently with the Chiefs and the Bucks. The defense won that championship. As much as people want to talk about Tom Brady, and Tom Brady was great, but the defense held, Patrick with the 9 points, and that was the game changer right there. So, and I think you're right. So I think getting back to that, and yeah, Hassan Reddick is underrated. I think he hasn't done what was expected of him as much coming out of Temple, if I'm not mistaken, is where he came from. But he hasn't done as much as was expected of his draft status at the time, but still a really, really solid player and a guy that's got sideline to sideline speed, flies around and makes hits. And that's kind of what you get back, that bruising type defense that you go back to when you talk about Kuechly and Davis, and people were, teams were scared to throw across the middle because Kuechly was going to destroy them and Thomas Davis was going to, be right there, right behind him. So, maybe trying to get back to that a little bit. And David Moore, going back to that first one, a little bit of a different receiver from my understanding of him, and his style of wide receiver is a little bit different than what they've had. They've had a lot of speedsters. I feel like David Moore brings a little bit more of a big guy, big figure type guy that kind of changes the way that maybe their offense, goes and the way that you have to guard their B and X receivers, you know what I mean? So interesting signing there. And yeah, I like both signings as well. And again, going back to what the Falcons did, kind of sitting still, sitting tight, signing some guys, signing some names, not changing the whole team because there's talent on that team. And I feel the same way with the Carolina Panthers. The Bucs are lucky to be in a division where I feel like the whole division can compete at any given time. We always beat up on each other. And I sincerely believe it's the best division in football. So we'll see how it plays out. Maybe not as much last year, although it was good. But for the past couple of years, we've had the Saints in the Super Bowl, the Panthers in the Super Bowl, the Falcons in the Super Bowl, and the Bucs in the Super Bowl, all in the last 10 years. That's 4 teams that have made it and done that for the NFC. So it's been a tough division. But yeah, I like some of those signings the Panthers have made. Very under the radar moves, but well done, in my opinion.
I would agree on that, definitely. Switching gears over to the Saints then, and the Saints have been, we'll say, quiet.
Yeah.
They did sign Alex Armah, a fullback. Now, the moves that they mostly made have been re-signings, and that was obviously the big one. We talked about this on Twitter in DMs a couple weeks ago, was them whether they were going to bring back Jameis Winston, which then the next day they turned around and signed him to a 1-year extension. So now the question, and we talked about this as the season wound down, will Taysom Hill or will it be Jameis Winston?
Yeah.
Or will it be somebody completely different? Taysom Hill is on a 4-year completely voidable contract, and Jameis Winston is on a 1-year, and on a 1-year rather team-friendly deal. So they could literally cut Taysom Hill tomorrow and be completely cap-free of him, and they could trade Winston, they could cut Winston at a relatively low dead cap number, and they could draft a quarterback, they could trade for a quarterback. There's so much that they could do. The problem that they're going to have is they're relatively cap strapped.
Yeah. I see, man. If honestly, if anybody but Jameis, okay, listen, if they go out and get a quarterback, it's a different conversation. But if the contest is between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, and Jameis Winston doesn't start in week 1, I wouldn't know what to say. I wouldn't know what to say, man. The more and more, I know we talked about it last time as well, but the more and more I think about it, it's just that shouldn't even be a contest. It shouldn't be a competition. Not that Jameis Winston is some, first ballot Hall of Famer here, but he's absolutely better than Taysom Hill. That point, and I think I mentioned it last show too, if Taysom starts over Jameis Winston, it's Sean Payton literally saying, I will not admit that I was wrong in signing Taysom Hill. I will make everybody else feel bad about that, and I will stick to my decision. And I think they'll lose games. They might win a couple games with him starting, but I think he's a number 1 guy. I think it's Jameis Winston all the way, unless there's somebody else out there that they end up signing.
Well, and this is one thing that made me curious about what the actual motive was when Drew Brees was hurt and they didn't start Jameis Winston.
Hmm.
To me, it was almost a decision by Sean Payton to go, okay, well, Drew Brees is going to be done after this year likely. We've got Jameis Winston that we brought in on a team friendly 1 year, and we've got Taysom Hill that we just re-signed. Do we play these 4 games with Jameis Winston, knowing what Jameis Winston is, or do we see what we have in Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill, yeah.
And they still won games.
Yeah.
Now they didn't light up the scoreboard, so Sean Payton didn't have to panic about it.
Right.
Now, if they had lost the first 2 games with Taysom Hill, there's potential that they would have pulled him and Jameis Winston would have been in.
Yeah.
But I believe that he was testing the waters to see if the Taysom Hill experiment could work for an entire game than just gadget plays.
Right. Right. And I think
so, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and I think you're right. I think the only thing that would start to give me pause, like I said, they did win games, but the only thing that would start to give me pause is when teams start to accumulate enough film on him to where week to week they can start to prepare for him. That becomes the question. And then what can he do when teams are prepared for him? Because I genuinely believe, I mean, we saw it even with the Bucs when they played the Washington football team in the playoffs. Levante David talked about it. He said, we were preparing for Alex Smith. Taylor Heineke comes out, and that was the toughest game of the playoffs for the Bucs. Weird to say, but the football team gave us the toughest time on the defensive side of the ball. But it's because they were preparing for one guy and got another guy. And with Taysom Hill, I think if you continue to give teams film on him and you continue to start him, eventually people will catch on to his deficiencies, and that's where it changes a little bit. So they may be able to start it. They may be able to get away with it for a couple games, but I don't know if they can go a full 16 games slate with him as starting quarterback. Do you think they can? What would your opinion be on that?
Personally, I don't think so. I don't think they would have even made the playoffs if they'd have run Taysom Hill this past year for the full 16 games.
I don't think so either.
And that's you brought up a great point when Washington played Taylor Heineke. And that's what happens in any sport, for example.
Mm-hmm.
When you're preparing for the tendencies of a certain star player or a certain key player,
right,
and a different player comes in, that one player can sometimes get a big deal because of how good they look against unprepared players.
Yeah.
Perfect example, Matt Flynn.
Yeah, Matt Flynn. Yep. It's that's a throwback example too. But yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Week 17 for Green Bay, they sit Aaron Rodgers. Matt Flynn comes in, throws 6 touchdowns in a game, gets signed by Seattle in the offseason. Seattle turns around, drafts Russell Wilson mid-round, and Matt Flynn can't even beat out a quarterback that Seattle did not intend on being their starting quarterback.
Right. They had intended all the way.
Era began.
Yeah. Yep. They intended all the way to have it be Matt Flynn. But yeah, I mean, teams get film on you and it changes. At that point, you have to rely more on technique, more on skill. And not that Taysom Hill is not skilled or doesn't have technique, but he's not technically proficient in the way that a lot of the other starting quarterbacks in the NFL are. There's still issues with his game, and he still has, as a gadget player, fantastic. But yeah, I just he can't do the things Jameis can. He doesn't have the arm strength that he can. And say what you will about Jameis's interceptions, he throws touchdowns too. So that's kind of the thing. And then I think the Saints are going to focus, and I think we kind of saw that too with the tag of the safety Marcus Williams. They're going to focus on getting that defense better and keeping that defense tight. They still need a couple positions on defense, especially with Sheldon Rankins leaving a defensive lineman for them. But they did, like I said, they re-signed Marcus Williams, and I think they're going to continue to bolster that defense. We'll see how it looks in the draft, but they lose Sheldon Rankins and Trey Hendrickson, 2 really big players for their defense. So we'll see how that goes as well. That'll be interesting to watch moving forward.
Yeah, they're going to be. I think the Saints are going to be the one of those anomaly teams next year. It's going to be one of those we really don't know what we're getting in Saints next year.
Yeah,
we have the definites. We have the Alvin Kamara. We have the Michael Thomas. Obviously, they didn't bring back Emmanuel Sanders for this next year.
Yeah.
But if we have a Jameis Winston-led offense, you're going to see Michael Thomas with 100 receptions, and you're going to see Alvin Kamara with probably 80 receptions and 1,200 rushing yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because Jameis is going to come in, and it's going to be the same style offense Drew Brees ran. If Taysom Hill comes in and starts, it's going to be a madhouse of who's actually going to touch the ball and how effective is the person going to be that touches the ball.
More gimmicky, right? More motions, sweeps, a lot of that kind of bubble screens. We're going to see a lot of that flea flicker type, that kind of thing. We'll see a lot of that, I think. And I think that even goes to show, which, we can say what we want about Sean Payton and him being so assured of his signing, but the fact that he brings him in for primarily gadget plays, doesn't that kind of tell you what he thinks of him? I mean, you would think he doesn't think that he is as good as a guy like Jameis Winston, but who knows? With Sean Payton, we really don't know. But like you said, I think the Saints are one of those big question mark teams, and I think the whole NFL looks at them that way, not just the NFC South. I think the whole NFL is wondering what's going to happen with them because they've been contenders for a few years now. So in the NFC, you got to play the Saints, and then playing anytime in the Mercedes-Benz Dome is tough. So I think everybody's kind of watching the Saints, not just the NFC South.
Some coaches are predictable, and then some coaches are Sean Payton.
Yeah, true enough.
The way I look at this, Sean Payton with his quarterback is like Bill Belichick with a running back. You don't know who the starting running back is or who's going to be the bell cow back for the Patriots week to week.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get that same feeling with Sean Payton and the quarterback situation in New Orleans.
It may very well be that, and that would be interesting to see, but it may very well be that depending on the team, hey, Taysom, you're getting the start. Guess what? He doesn't got to tell anybody until Wednesday when the injury report's released, or Thursday or Friday, whatever the NFL rules are. But he doesn't have to tell anybody. So we could see that. Maybe against the Panthers, you start Taysom Hill because you think you can hold their offense, and then you don't need to score 50. But then against the Bucs, maybe you do bring a Jameis because he's got the boom or bust potential. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. That would be 2 quarterback system would be fun.
Imagine an NFL team that had planned 2 quarterbacks throw for 2,500 yards each and 20 plus touchdowns, and it was not because of injury.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy. But if you think about it, what's the one team that would do something like that, right? I mean, with as much as Sean Payton believes in it, like you said, wild card, with as much as Sean Payton believes in Taysom, maybe that is the move. That'd be interesting.
That would completely change coaching mentalities. I mean, we're already seeing a new style of coaching with these younger coaches with high-powered offenses, the Cliff Kingsburys and the Matt LaFleurs and all this kind of stuff. And could you imagine Sean Payton changes the NFL by running a 2 quarterback system that is successful?
Yeah.
I mean, that would literally be like the Matt Leinart, Kurt Warner days in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
You didn't know which quarterback was going to play.
Who you're going to get? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Unreal. All right, let's move over to your Buccaneers.
Yeah.
No new signings. They have brought no one in at all.
Right.
And this is the whole poke the stick thing. Do something.
Yeah, do something. Yeah.
Now, look at the next section, though. Re-signed players. Gronk, Stinney, Barrett, Nunez Roches, David, Minter, and Suckup, and then they tagged Godwin.
Yeah.
That is keeping your foundation. And I'm hearing that they're still trying to work with Sue to bring him back.
Yeah.
And who else did I just hear about that there was one other player that they were talking to about bringing back.
Unless I'm mistaken, I feel like there was. Man, I'm the Bucks fan, and I'm forgetting who else is talking about here. Huh.
I'm drawing a blank, and it's not on my recent tweets, unfortunately. But
Sue is the one that jumps out to me in terms of how much he meant to the team. So maybe a depth guy that they're trying to bring back.
Might have been, but they've been flying through the re-signings and whatnot. So I mean, they might have already done it. I don't know, but I saw two guys that they were targeting bringing back, Sue being one, and now it's gonna bug me till I think of the other one. But it's now, was Fournette going into free agency, or is he still on one more year?
No, he's a free agent. I think, I don't think that they're going to bring him back. I think he would have been towards the top of the list, but I think he wants a big payday, and the Bucks can't afford a big payday for a running back, especially with Ronald Jones sitting there. And then, at 32, maybe, I don't think so, but a Najee Harris could drop. Who knows? And you never really know with the draft. So, that's an option. And honestly, Bucks fans and NFL fans in general got to see a good version of Leonard Fournette. But honestly, through the regular season, he wasn't as impressive as he was in the playoffs. Props to him for stepping up in the playoffs. Super important, super needed. But he wasn't a guy that I would have said, let's pay him. Let's bring him back. Top notch, top quality. I'm glad they let him walk, and I'm glad that it doesn't seem like they're considering bringing him back. So,
he had like a really good regular season game, kind of mid-season.
Yeah.
And then it was like, where did he go?
We hadn't heard of him, right? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think, and they're partially due to the rotation that Bruce Arians has with his backs, but mostly just he there's some plays where his vision is lacking, and if you go back through some of the film, you can see cut-ups of him going through a gap, and there's a giant gap to the left, and he doesn't even see it. And the elite running backs can see those gaps. Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, in his prime is one of the best examples I can think of, that does that really well.
That patient. Yep.
Yes, the patience that's so hard to have and so desired by so many guys. But yeah.
But even when he was with the Jaguars, people used to comment that. I mean, I remember multiple times watching highlights, and even the analysts would point it out. He'd run behind two guys, and there's four defenders right on the other side of him, and he'd get walled. But if he would have just cut, there was enough room to drive a freaking bus through.
Yeah.
And he doesn't see it at all. It's like his vision is just gone.
Yeah.
He relies so much on running people over. His days in college, he bowled people over.
Right. Yeah, and he's so used to that. And you get to the NFL level, and hey, these are big guys. Linebackers are not 6 foot or not; they're big guys. So you can't just run people over anymore. And he does get his fair share of running people over in, but he needs to definitely work on that vision. And I think with the way that he performed in the playoffs, the payday that he would have been seeking, I haven't seen rumors as to what it was, but it would have been way too much for the Bucks to even mess with, and that's why the Bucks haven't made that many moves. Cap room, this year is tight, and so hey, sign the guys that you got in house, and then add your draft picks and do it again. I guess that's the idea, anyways.
Well, and that's one of the big questions for him seeking a payday is we're in a cap-strapped year, and the only teams that are going to be looking to sign guys like him are going to be teams like the Jets, Jacksonville. He's not going back to Jacksonville.
Right.
New England maybe, but still, even in New England, they're not going to pay $10 million a year to a running back.
No.
When was the last time Belichick paid $10 million a year to a running back?
Yeah.
Corey
exactly.
Dillon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's an RBBC guy. I mean, that was why LeGarrette Blount left, was because he wanted a bigger payday, and Bill's kind of said, no,
thank you. Yeah, see you later. Yeah, exactly.
Bye.
Bill said I can start Jonas Gray, and Jonas Gray can have, what was it? You remember that span back in the day? It was like, I don't know, 8 touchdowns in 2 weeks, and then we never heard from Jonas Gray again.
Yep.
So, why is Bill want to sign anybody?
And everybody went nuts picking up on their fantasy rosters and all this kind of stuff. And then it was like,
where'd he go?
Did they cut him?
Yeah, right.
No, they just benched him.
Yep.
And
exactly
who was that other kid that did the same thing? Bolden?
Yeah. Brandon Bolden.
He was another one where he had like a 3-game just monstrous stretch, and then apparently the rumor was that he said something to Belichick in practice, and and like it was kind of one of those shots like, hey, I'm your best back you got. Never saw the field again.
Right. Bill said, "Okay, see you later."
Yeah, I mean, same. He did the same thing to Jamie Collins. Jamie Collins was like, "I want to restructure my contract, and I want to be paid more." Oh, you want to go to the Browns?
Yeah.
Is
Bill
that
said,
what I
"How's
heard?
Cleveland sound? Does Cleveland sound okay? All right, cool."
Yeah, you came into my office and just said, "I want to be traded to the Browns." Okay,
Got it. I heard it.
loud and clear. Bye bye.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's why Leonard Fournette just doesn't. I don't know what his move is. And a lot of guys, Will Fuller gets that 1-year deal. I think it's a smart, type of situation for this type of year. If you're looking for a payday, take a 1 year, prove it, and then next year you can get paid because everybody's estimating the cap's going to skyrocket next year. So you get paid next year. So
yeah, they're saying based on this TV deal, it's at least going to be 20 million more. At
least
they're saying potentially 30. That they're saying 220 up from what
180, I think it is. Yeah.
So I mean, you got guys like Juju taking a 1 year. You had Will Fuller taking a 1 year. Now, granted, Juju did a smart thing by staying in a system he's familiar with, and he doesn't want to leave Pittsburgh at all. He wants the cap to go up, and Pittsburgh is going to be in a fantastic cap situation next year. They're going to be one of the top 5 cap teams next year.
Oh, wow, okay.
Well, number one, they lose Ben's contract.
Right.
That's 40 mil. That's huge.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge. That's a lot of money to play with.
So cap goes up, 30 plus. Add in the 40 mil that they just saved off of Ben's cap.
They got money for days.
Oh my God! Be watching for next year the Steelers tool up.
Yeah.
And now, granted, they're not typically a build through free agency.
They're
build through the draft team, but they're gonna pay their guys. You're gonna see T.J. Watt get paid. You're gonna see Bush get paid. You're gonna see Minka get paid. You're gonna see Juju get paid. Deontay's gonna get paid.
Right.
I mean, it's gonna be. It's
lots of moves,
Kevin Colbert is gonna be
shelling out all the money that he owes people. Apparently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Team friendly deal? What? No.
Yeah.
No.
I want my check.
Yep. Yeah. Show me the money.
Exactly right.
Okay. Over with the NFC South for now.
Yeah.
We will talk about that again next time you're on.
Sounds good.
I want to jump back into what we were
talking
about before.
Yeah. Okay.
What I want to start with, I want to focus on the Jets here for a second, and really focusing on the Jets is more ancillary. Being at the Jets, I want to focus on the type of situation that they're in. It's not very often that you see a third-year quarterback that was a first-round draft pick, and that team has the number 2 overall.
Mm-hmm.
All the questions surrounding Sam Darnold, everybody's saying they need to draft a quarterback. They need to draft a quarterback. The number 2 overall, they need to draft a quarterback. Today, and I normally really enjoy her thoughts, but Mina Kimes from ESPN said the Jets need to draft a quarterback because if they don't, there's too much pressure on Sam Darnold and on the organization. Because if they put their money in Sam Darnold and he fails, it's going to cost people their jobs. My philosophy behind this, and this has been a type of philosophy that's been part of winning franchises, because I like to think that I've learned from watching smart moves around the NFL for multiple decades. If you have a quarterback who you believe could potentially still be your franchise quarterback, you don't draft another quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
By drafting a quarterback at number 2 overall, that would send the message to Sam Darnold, you're done.
We don't believe
your days are numbered.
Yeah.
If you draft a quarterback number 2 overall, odds are he's the day 1 starter.
Mm-hmm.
So, in their situation, they should either move on from Darnold and draft his replacement, or build around him, because they have 2 first-round picks. And to be quite honest, the amount of capital they could build off of that number 2 overall pick,
Yeah.
they could get a king's ransom for that.
Yep.
Everybody knows Trevor Lawrence is 1 overall.
Right.
It's no secret. But you've got 2 other quarterbacks that could potentially be the 2nd overall. And who's going to give up the most for it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Potentially 2 or 3 draft picks. I mean, you can trade down. You could still get a offensive lineman, and honestly, I would be trading just down enough to pick up an additional first rounder next year and still be able to get Penny Sewell.
Yeah.
Because if you can invest in Sam Darnold, I believe, and I'm not a Sam Darnold fan or anything along those lines, I do believe he's talented. But if you invest around him, I believe he could be a good starting quarterback for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
But if you take that number 2 overall pick and pick a quarterback, he will not be a starting quarterback for you.
No.
I mean, that's the equivalent of what the Eagles did to Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a 2nd-round pick that they shouldn't have used that pick for. But now Carson Wentz is in Indy and getting another shot at resurrecting his career. What are your thoughts on the Jets' situation with the picks that they currently have, the situation they have with their quarterback, a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator? They just got some new tools, some new weapons for him. Mark?
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, it's tough. I personally, I'll start with the Sam Darnold part of it, and I'll just tell you, like I've told you before, I believe in him. I think he's still a good quarterback. I think he's still got it. I think you send any quarterback to the situation that the Jets were in, they'll look similar, if not worse. And I think the coaching was a huge aspect. I think Adam Gase really hurt the development of Sam Darnold. So I think it's simple, but the NFL likes to complicate things. I think the simple move is you take a king's ransom for 2. You take Sewell, like you're talking about. Now you have bookends because Mekhi Becton was fantastic last year. You got Becton on one end. You got Sewell on the other. You're building an offensive line. And then, like you said, you got some weapons. You got C.J. Mosley coming back. You have some movement on both sides of the ball. And then you take all of those picks and just put people around them. And then just see what happens. And listen, if you really want to say, you think Sam's done, then why not trade that 2 and then, take Sewell. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sewell. Sewell. There we go. Take Sewell and then go ahead and take that first rounder that you're going to get for next year. And if you're dying to have a quarterback next year, if after this year it doesn't work out, take those 2 and trade up and get whoever that you're interested in. If you're interested in somebody next year, you do that. But give Sam a year. I really think they should give Sam a year, because if not, they're setting themselves back multiple years. And then this is the other thing. You draft a quarterback at 2. Sam is obviously not going to start. But not only that, his value goes down as well, because now everybody knows, hey, guess what? They don't want him. They don't care for him. They're going to start whoever they take it to, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, whoever that is. They're going to start that guy. And now who's calling and offering a 2nd rounder for Sam? Nobody in their right mind is offering anything for Sam, because they know, I'll just let him be a free agent in a year or 2, and then I'll sign him then. Why am I interested in trading you anything for him? So I think you doubly hurt yourself in that scenario where you take a quarterback at 2. You are saying to Sam you don't believe in him, and then after that you're also saying, hey, we're not interested in this guy, so call and offer me a 5th and you can take him. And I just don't see that as the move. That team needed a lot of different things, and the picks that you can get for number 2 can fill a lot of those holes. So I would suggest that. But again, like I said at the beginning, NFL teams like to make things that are relatively simple super complicated. And especially teams that have been stuck in ruts for years. And the Jets are kind of one of those teams that have been stuck in the same place, kind of turning their wheels in the mud. That's been the Jets. So, would I be surprised if they took a quarterback at 2? No. Would I recommend or advise it in any way or think it's a good move? No. So we'll see what happens. But that's kind of my take on the situation. Like I said, I like Sam. He played at SC, 45 minutes down the street here from where I'm at in California. I'm a big UCLA fan, so I watched all of the USC UCLA rivalries. I watched USC games on Saturdays usually just to cheer for them to lose. So I saw a lot of Sam, and I think he's still got it. I think he's got the tools, but he needs a team. So we'll see what they do.
Well, and one thing that could be a positive for both Sam and for you is there are people who are suggesting that the Jets trade him to the Steelers. Marc Magaña could become a Steelers fan.
There you go. Hey, I'm all about it. Hey, I tell you what, wherever Sam goes, I will support him. And you guys are AFC, so I'll support the Steelers in a heartbeat. I'll support the Steelers in a heartbeat. I ain't got nothing wrong with that. So
imagine Darnold goes to the Steelers for a 22 first-round draft pick, and then Sam Darnold wins a Super Bowl as a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Wow, that'd be pretty crazy.
How many people in the Jets organization would lose their job for that?
Oh my gosh.
Well,
I can't even imagine.
It wouldn't be Saleh and LaFleur, because that wouldn't be their call, and they'd never use the guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, that GM would be
gone. Yeah. And I think you can always hope that maybe Saleh, coming from where he comes from, San Francisco, John Lynch has done a pretty good job as a GM, and so maybe Saleh's taken something from that. Maybe he's taken the patience aspect of it, or the whatever it is that he could have taken into this head coaching job. Maybe he's taken that, and maybe he can get the ear of the GM and whisper whatever he needs to make the right decision. But you never know. That's the other thing too, is you never know the GM head coach relationships. I mean, we've seen all around the NFL, there are GM coach relationships that don't work out. And there are some that we don't even know are not working out when things are going well. I mean, look at, the Niners when they had Cap and the way that, Harbaugh and was it Jed York at the time? Or not Jed York. Jed York was the owner, right? But the way that the GM and Harbaugh interacted, I can't remember the GM's name for life. But the way that they interacted, they didn't agree on hardly anything, right? But they were still winning. So so you never know how that works. But if Saleh is to take anything from what San Francisco has done, I think they've done a pretty good job, especially John Lynch. So maybe he can take that over there and take that into the owner's room and say, hey, preach patience, because that's the biggest thing, because these teams a lot of NFL teams are not patient, and it would do them well to just, hey, suck it up for a year or two so that you can have success down the line.
Well, I think part of it is also going to come down to Mike LaFleur, and if Mike LaFleur believes Sam Darnold can run his offense.
Mm-hmm.
So from everything I've gathered listening to Saleh press conferences and interviews, it sounds like they're going to run it similar to how they were in San Francisco, where Saleh, even as the head coach, is going to handle mostly defensive responsibilities, and then LaFleur is going to handle the offense.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's not a bad thing. It's I don't want to say that I believe that every head coach should handle one or the other of offense or defense, because I also believe that on the offensive side of the ball, that tends to be the downfall of some teams, is when a head coach is also calling the plays and being the offensive coordinator in the same breath. It doesn't always work, and I don't know if being a first-year head coach, if it's a smart idea, but if he's a defensive coach, I kind of like that idea, and then have a defensive assistant coach to kind of be his number two.
Right. Yeah, and it is interesting because usually that's how it works out, right? Typically the offensive guy is usually the guy that gets the head coaching job. Saleh is kind of a little bit of a different situation, that they actually, had a similar situation with Todd Bowles, right? When they had Todd Bowles as their head coach, a defensive guy getting that job. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, that relationship and those dynamics, because those are always interesting when the head coach controls the defensive side of the, and then the OC, is the one that kind of runs the offense. I feel like it's such a strange setup, but oftentimes it can work and oftentimes it doesn't. More commonly, what we see is offensive coordinators becoming head coaches or offensive minded guys becoming head coaches, and having that relationship with, their quarterback and, quarterback whisperer, that kind of thing. So it'll be something to look forward to and watch for them. And I think that plays into their decision making with Darnold, because now the question becomes, Saleh might think whatever he thinks about Sam, but if, LaFleur is not interested, then where are they at? Where do they stand? If LaFleur's like,
Right.
I'm good on that, then whose decision is it? And then that's when you decide if you draft a quarterback too. So that's another big question as well.
Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate you being on tonight. I appreciate you being on tonight, Mark.
Yeah,
and,
thanks, man.
Sorry,
Thanks for having
sometimes
me.
the feedback gets back into my ear and it makes me want to repeat what I said.
You're good.
Because there's a slight delay in my headset.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But definitely appreciate you being on, and we'll be doing this again sometime soon. One thing that I do want to do before the draft is I want to have you back on. I do plan on doing some mock drafts prior to the draft.
Sweet,
and so I'm probably going to try to, I got to talk to Dean about this yet too. I'm going to try to work a spot where we kind of go through and break down some mocks and get your input, get Dean's input, get my input, maybe even kind of do a I might even try to sit down with you and Dean sometime and we actually do a mock draft where we each pick the next pick in the draft.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I love doing those like live mock drafts where you get to pick for each team and you kind of know like, okay, you got 8 to 12 teams to pick for, so where are you picking? And then you kind of go from there, and you could have a little board and everything.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun, and I
love the draft. I nerd out about the draft, so
yeah. So
did you hear me? Did it cut me up?
Yeah, it cut out for a second, but you're back. You're back.
Okay. Yeah. I was just saying I love the mock draft stuff. I'm all about it.
Yep. It's a lot of fun. I do enjoy those. So
yeah.
But I appreciate you being on tonight again, man, and we'll talk soon. And
thank you so much, man.
Thank you very much. The co-host of the Droppin' Dimes podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Marc Magaña.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Have a good one. See ya. Okay. That was a lot of fun. I like having Marc on. I like having guests on. This is good. I've got some NFL stuff. Hopefully I can get some stuff, some interviews lined up before the draft that you guys are going to enjoy. Oh, I don't want to say anything yet, but it's all right. So I have to cover. Let's see, we did that. I do want to get into something here real quick before we get into the box rip for tonight. Last week, we made our big announcement. Sports Stuff Hub Breaks officially returns. And we are going to be kicking off our group breaks with 2020 Select Football Hobby Boxes. The release date, as you see on the graphic right there, right over my shoulder, says 3/31. That date was pushed back to 4/9. So the 9th of April. And I'm going to take my headset off now because I don't need it. Much better. There will be some improvements, we'll call it, from how group breaks were done in my previous setup. Back when I was breaking in 2016 and 2017 and into 2018, I ran a rewards program. And I did it kind of archaically, if that's a word. I tracked every break everybody was a part of, and I did a rewards based on the amount of breaks everybody was in. And I kept a spreadsheet, and it was archaic, and it was really tough to keep up with, and then figure out rewards. how we're going to do this time. The rewards that will be in play for the people who support the group breaks, that join the group breaks, that are a part of everything. We're going to do our Wednesday break night, and it's going to be anywhere from 3 to 8 breaks. It'll all be on the website ahead of time, and maybe we throw in an extra one that night. It's really easy for me to throw it on the website. How we're going to do a rewards platform for it, because I'm a big proponent for supporting, for giving back to the people who have supported you along the way. So how I want to do a rewards program is going to be the last week of every month is going to be a 2 or 3 breaks, roughly, could be more, that are going to be a reward for the people who were in the group breaks. How that's going to work is through my website. When you purchase breaks, obviously I get notifications, it tracks all of that. The breaks at the end of the month are going to be, the rewards breaks, I should say, at the end of the month are going to be very aggressively priced, we'll say. Cost friendly to the participants, we'll say. And it will be limited access to people who were in breaks throughout the month. I haven't quite figured out, I haven't quite decided on the full details as to what the qualifications will be yet. I'm kind of leaning towards being like, join 2 breaks or 3 breaks or 4 breaks, something along those lines throughout the month. How I'm going to handle this, on my website I can password protect pages. So what would happen when you qualify for the rewards break at the end, breaks at the end of the month, I will create those pages as a password protected page. Members and customers that were in multiple breaks to qualify for said reward break will be given a password to access those pages. That password is good for only the person I give it to. So it'll be multiple passwords, all that kind of fun stuff. It's all tracked by me. You guys don't have to worry about it. You would be given a password for that month. And then you'd go on and buy up to 2 spots. I'm going to make sure it's limited because I want to make sure anybody that's potentially that earns the reward is eligible to buy a spot. And the break will be, as I said, aggressively priced. I'm not going to give away any pricing details, but I will say that there will not be a breaker in our hobby that prices it where I price it, as a thank you to the people who join. So it's going to be fully tracked. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. And I can't wait to get things kicked off, starting with select football. I'm already building a slight box count of stuff to do breaks with. That this is just what came today. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So as things get closer, I will be doing more and more of that. So that you guys can, you'll get more information. once it's all up, I'm starting the break page. We just got it implemented into the website last night. It's not active for anybody to go see it yet. I'm building it right now, so as stuff gets loaded and as I get information all figured out, that's going to be entered onto the website. The explanation for how to earn the opportunity at the rewards break will also be listed on the website, so everybody is going to have the ability to see it. But obviously, watching the show, you guys all get first access because I announce everything on the show. Get to some... Oh, you guys are talking about practice. So, breaks, group breaks, coming up. Going to be fun. Look forward to it. Make sure you're paying attention. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be cost friendly. So, all right. One other thing real quick before we get on to the break tonight. I need to find this real quick. So we were talking about on the show a couple weeks ago a card show badge so that people can wear a badge at card shows, because we've run into it multiple times where people don't recognize somebody because they may not ever see their face on social media. And it's happened a few times where people were standing feet apart and had no clue, and then later that night or 2 days later they were talking on social media, oh yeah, I was standing at this person's table when this happened, oh yeah, I was standing there too, and oh, I didn't even realize that was you. So we were talking about this on the show, and this is a prototype that my wife and I came up with, and I want to integrate a sports card into the badge. So what I'm going to do is the people who want a badge would request. Now I haven't looked into costs for any of this at all. This was literally a digital mock-up that we made. Correct, Taylor, it did happen to you, and this was actually what spurred this whole thing, was the situation at the card show where you guys were talking on social media, and it turned out you guys were both standing at my table as I was talking to you. And he was like, oh yeah, I overheard this conversation of somebody collecting the slams, and somebody asked, well, the foils or the regulars? And the guy's response was, oh, the foils are way too expensive. Well, that happened to be you and I, and we didn't realize the other guy standing at the table was in fact this said person from Twitter. And it would have been nice to know. So, as you can see on the mock-up right there, I just used a Clyde Drexler hoops base card, and if you see down the side of it, powered by Sports Stuff Hub, because we're going to be making the badges, on the bottom it's going to have the person's name and their social media handle, and as you can see it says you got the Twitter icon and the Instagram icon, because that's both my Twitter and my Instagram handle. So whatever you provide to us would be whatever we put on there. Now, if you see on the back of the card, so this is both sides, front and back of the badge. The front of the card is the front of the badge. The back of the card is the back of the badge, okay? So just imagine that in your head for a second. The back of the card, down right here, you see there's a QR code right there in the bottom corner, okay? Right here. If I can get my fingers around it. Right there is a QR code. That QR code, you can have anybody around scan, and it's going to take you to Sports Stuff Hub's website, but it is your page within my website. Your page is going to have all your social media contact links. We are going to build within our embedded in our website. People can't just go to it. It's all going to be weird coded. But if they scan your individual QR code, it will take the person scanning the QR code to a page with all of your social media contact information that you provide to me. Okay, so that if you run into somebody, you meet somebody at a card show, and they want to know how to follow you, you just show them your badge. They scan the QR code. They're given every social media contact you have. This is how we're going to connect collectors in an area. You could take this to any card show. This is not limited to just Twin Oaks card shows. This is anything. You can wear these badges anywhere. Tony had the idea of putting this on his luggage. Fantastic. Guess what? If you lose your luggage, or the airline loses your luggage, and somebody sees that badge, your social media is here, and this QR code has all your social media contact info. Now, the card we used, I can't go over the thing, but the card used, here's the cool thing about this badge. The cards in the badge are actual cards. So what we're going to do, if, let's say, David, since you're the last commenter on the page right now, David, let's say you say, yeah, sign me up, I want a badge. Here's all my social media contact info. We also want your favorite team. Okay? I don't care what sport it is. Your favorite team. Preferably basketball, baseball, or football, because I don't have some of the other stuff. But basketball, baseball, football, pro. What I would do then is I would go through and find cards that I have, and I would find a card of said team, probably junk wax era, a cool, player from yesteryear. So if you were a Portland Trailblazers fan, I would use said Clyde Drexler card. For me, for example, I would do a Sean Kemp, or maybe a Cordell Stewart, or a Terry Bradshaw, or Jerome Bettis, or something along those lines. Now, Tony did bring up customs, and once I get it all figured out how much it's going to cost to make a badge, it's not going to be much. It's only going to be a couple bucks. But once I get it figured out cost-wise, then if somebody wants a custom card, like David, you just mentioned Darbo, Tony mentioned Basley, you'd send us the card you want in your badge, and then we make the badge with your card embedded in the badge. So your card is a part of the badge. Okay, just to make sure we're clear on this. This is not a digital, this one in front of you is a digital scan. But the cards will not be just scanned and on a piece of paper. The card is actually going to be a part of the physical badge, and there's all the information is going to be a frame, so to speak, around the card, all as a badge. So that's what's in the works. Hopefully we'll have this dialed in so that I have a price for it, how much it's going to cost us to do each badge. But like I said, it's not going to be more than a couple bucks. I'm kind of leaning, just based on preliminary numbers, the stuff where is $2, $3, $4, $5 at most, and then hopefully within the next 60 days we get Sports Stuff Hub lanyards ordered so that people could buy a lanyard with their badge. So anyway, that's the badge concept that we're at right now. Hope you like it. Okay. All right. Let me. Well, we'll have more information. I guarantee by next show, David, I'll have it all penciled out. Like I said, just based on basic numbers that we looked at so far, it's not going to cost us more than a couple bucks to make a single badge. So most of it's going to be, the laminate that it costs. That's really, and then the card stock is, that's really the two big costs involved in it. So, but anyway, all right, let's get this screen flipped around real quick. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. Yeah, so the badge thing, like I said, I'll have more information next week as far as costs and whatnot so that I can get everybody the info. And like I said, this is not going to be limited to just Twin Oaks card shows. Obviously, I want people at the Twin Oaks shows because that's the ones that I'm set up at always. I want people to have an option for a badge so that we know who we're talking to. But we'll get that dialed in later. All right, I need to shut off my Zoom call. Hang on a second here. There. That feedback was driving me crazy. All right, so our product rip for tonight, 2020-21 certified basketball. So per box, we got 2 autos, 5 cards per pack, 10 packs per box. And obviously, we are, we're still LaMelo Ball hunting. But some of the bigger inserts in this, obviously, you want your mirrored parallels. And the graffiti style inserts of the rookies are a hot commodity, as I always like to chase those. All right, let's get started. So if you haven't seen Certified Basketball yet, here are your base cards. Starting off with a Luke Kennard, and it's kind of got that mirror glaze to it. Jamal Murray, and we get a red in our first pack of Fred VanVleet for the Raptors. And that's your mirror red, not numbered. And we get a graffiti of Patrick Williams. First pack. Very cool. Graffiti, Patrick Williams rookie. And then a Bojan Bogdanovic. So our rookie in this pack ended up as an insert. Dame Lillard. And then we get a red of Hassan Whiteside. And, oh, that's a hit, so I'm going to save that. We do get a Vernon Carey Jr. and a Denny rookie. I'm going to save that hit. Gallinari, Tim Hardaway Jr. We get a blue Karl Anthony Towns. Nice color match on the T-Wolves there. And we get a The Mighty insert, Domantas Sabonis. And Andre Drummond. Anthony Davis. We get, Anthony Edwards, mirror red. Oh, it faked me out there. I thought this was like almost like a pink, not numbered. Oh man, I thought we had a banger. Whew. Still, Anthony Edwards, red. Whew. And then a gold team Chris Paul insert. DeAndre Hunter, and then Xavier Tillman, rookie. The color of that red had me a little, yeah, it faked me out. It didn't quite look as, see, it looks almost pinkish. Well, it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but, oh, man. Yeah, put that one in a badge. Yeah, I will say that the badge process, because it's laminate, probably not gonna be a good thing for a chrome faced card. or any kind of card that has a wax to it at all. So if you send me a card, I would probably suggest a paper, a full paper card. Embiid, Eric Gordon, we get the ever popular blank spacer. And we get another T-Wolf blue, deloading D'Angelo Russell. And we get an Isaiah Stewart graffiti. And then a Mike Conley base. And Trout Super Refractor. That would be insane in a badge. Will Barton. We get a red Buddy Hield. And there's our other hit right there. We're going to save that till the end. Precious rookie. And Bobby Portis base. Whew. Put a Trout Super and a Russ Auto in a badge. I could make it work. It just, yeah, it would not be a good thing for the card. Bagley, Kyle Lowry. We get a blue Cody Zeller. And we get a The Mighty Pascal Siakam. And then rookie Onyeka. All right, so our two hits are already found. We just don't know what they are yet. Zion. And then we get an orange out of 99, Dwight Powell. Gold team, LeBron James. Rookie, Cassius Winston. And D-Russ. Yeah, I'll crack that right out of that slab. I'll get right on it. R.J. Barrett, Bradley Beal, and we get a red rookie, Aaron Nesmith. Almost Christmas color because it's the green from the Celtics with the red. And then we get Trey Jones graffiti. And then Ricky Rubio. Last pack, and then we can see what our hits were. Zach LaVine. And then we get a blue Cassius Winston. And then we get a James Wiseman gold team. Yeah, the Herbert playbook as the badge. Yeah, I would look like Flava Flav walking around. James Wiseman gold team, and then ending out the pack, Jalen Smith rookie and a Josh Jackson base. All right, let's see what our autos are. So behind the Buddy Hield red, we get Kevin Willis. Old school. Kevin Willis. Does not look numbered. Just a base. Legendary signatures. Kevin Willis. That brings back memories. And our thick card behind the Hassan Whiteside red. A high draft pick. Onyeka, freshman fabric, jersey auto, number 6 overall pick, Onyeka for the Atlanta Hawks. Not too bad of a hit. I don't think it's numbered. It is not. Hey guys, numbered Fook. Oh, that's funny. You gotta enjoy the simple things in life. I have card number Fook. Yeah, not numbered though, but cool card. Onyeka. All right, so that was our one box of 2020-21 certified basketball. Yeah, Hawks were absolutely loaded in this 100%. That's a fucking hit. That's funny. It's always fun when you get little enjoyable things like that in a break. All right, let's figure out what we're gonna do for the giveaway. I'm gonna give away, I know for one, I'm gonna give away the Kevin Willis. And I think I'm going to give away the LeBron Gold Team. And oh, let's see. Smith, Winston, Onyeka, Precious. You know what? I'm going to give away a graffiti. So I'm going to give away the LeBron Gold Team. And the graffiti of Isaiah Stewart. Okay, so that's going to be winner number 2. So winner number 1 is going to win the Kevin Willis auto. And winner number 2 is going to win the combo LeBron James Gold Team and the Isaiah Stewart graffiti. Okay, let me get this stuff moved out of the way. All right. I was gonna say, I think I still have this stuff saved up here. Dice roller and our listimer, lists randomizer. All right, guys, go ahead and just type me in the chat if you want a chance to win. I should put them right there so you can still see them. All right, Anthony. Taylor. Just type me in the chat, guys. David Miller. Shane. Alright, who else we got in here still? No, a bunch of people were bouncing in and out earlier. Tony just wants the Basleys. You know, there's one thing that I do want to rip tonight just for myself. I haven't decided if I'm going to yet, but I did get a box of Prism Premier League. And this is the what do they call it? The not fast break, but what do they call that set? It's the equivalent of fast break. Breakaway, that's what it is. And I think I'm gonna rip that one. I was gonna rip it after the show, but I think I'm gonna rip it on the show. Alright, we're going to well, I guess we're just gonna cut it up there. Alright, so I'm gonna run over to the dice roller. Gonna randomize the list 4 times, guys. Good luck. 1, 2, 3, 4th and final time. Good luck, everybody. Anthony starts off number 1, winning the Kevin Willis auto. And Taylor taking the number 2 spot, winning the LeBron James and the Isaiah Stewart graffiti. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations. Get a picture of this real quick. All right. Perfect. All right. You know what? I'm going to rip that box of soccer real quick, guys. Don't hate me. This isn't for giveaway or anything. This is just send the Stewart to Miller. I can do that. This isn't for a giveaway or anything. I just wanted to rip a box. This is a box of 2021 Premier League Soccer. This is the breakaway box. I just wanted to rip one of these because I've never ripped a Prism Soccer box, and I got a pretty good deal on this. No, this isn't retail. This is the equivalent of a fast break or no huddle for soccer. So they call it breakaway. So you still get 10 exclusive prisms, 1 silver, and then they've got color blasts, kaboom, vigors, and more and stuff in this. So no, unfortunately this is not retail. Anthony Marshall. You're going to have to excuse me on some of these names. There's a lot of guys in here that I probably have never heard of. James McCarthy. We get an atmosphere of Chelsea FC. Fernandinho. And a Patrick Bamford rookie. Well, Taylor, I'm going to have Topps opening day. It's shipped today, so I'm not going to have it until Thursday. But it's not bad. I think it's only like 45 bucks a box. Oliver McBurney, rookie. Dale Stevens, and here is our first parallel. In what looks like a pulsar, or what they're calling the breakaway. Giovanni Lo Celso, and then a rookie, Grady Diangana. Oliver you said, oh, Bamford's good. Right on. Well, at least I got one good rookie. Pogba. Milivojevic, and what is this? Connor Gallagher, rookie, in what appears to be a pulsar in a brownish, numbered out of 25, 15 of 25. Check that out. 15 of 25. Connor Gallagher. That's cool. I like that. Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Martin Dubravka. Yeah, that card looks sick. Ben Osborne, rookie. Nathan Redmond. Fireworks, James Madison. Leander Dendonker. Trezeguet. Danny Ceballos, Phil Foden, Robbie Brady, Luke Ayling, rookie, Jolinton, Bruno Fernandez, Chico Kouyaté, and we get a silver of Ivan Cavallero. Harry Winks, and rookie, Neeskens Cabano. We are not even halfway through this box, and I'm already loving this product. Kyle Walker, Matthew Lowton, Emergent of Jared Bowden, rookie. Allen, Mohamed Salah, Daniel James, Jeffrey Schlupp, and we get another Pulsar, this time Michael Antonio, sorry, Davy Proper, and a rookie, Billy Gilmore. John Fleck, John Bednarek. We get a blue Pulsar rookie of Luke Thomas. And this one is numbered out of 195. Come on. 73 of 195. Luke Thomas, blue Pulsar. Dennis Pratt, Hal Robson Canoe. All right, halfway through the box. Jay Rodriguez, James Ward-Prowse, Dara O'Shea, Emergent rookie. Richarlison, Allison. I don't believe we get an autograph guaranteed in a box, by the way. William Rodrigo, and we get another Pulsar of Isaac Hayden. Rookie of Steven Alzati. Robbie de Cordova-Reed. Jonah Berg Goodmanson. Marcus Rashford. N'Golo Kanté, blue Pulsar. I'm guessing another out of 195. Yep. 35 of 195. Focus. Those are cool. Rookie of Stuart Dallas. And rookie of Sam Johnstone. Andros Townsend, Liz Musette, Fireworks of Bernd Leno. I would agree, David. Dele Alli and Antonio Rudiger. Romeo, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Fabian Delph, Pulsar. Alex Iwobi, and a rookie, Emiliano Martinez. All right, guys, 4 packs left. Like I said, I don't think we're going to hit an auto just because they're not one per. But it's nice looking stuff. David De Gea, Donny Van de Beek, and we get a purple Pulsar, numbered out of 99, Aaron Ramsdale for Sheffield United. And it's purple on purple too. Jersey with the purple border. Basuma and Jamal Lascelles. James MacArthur, rookie, Sander Berge. Scorers Club, Harry Kane. Harvey Barnes, Ross Barkley. 2 packs. Will Smallbone, rookie. Bukayo Saka. Gabriel, rookie Pulsar for the Arsenal. Mark Noble and Virgil van Dijk. Last pack. Let's get some. Oh, we got a blue Pulsar coming. Riyad Mahrez, rookie Josh Brownhill, and a blue Pulsar, rookie Sander Berge. Blue Pulsar rookie. Again, 195. Looks like 185 of 195. Sheffield United. And then Moutinho and Klitsch base cards ending that out. So that was one box of 2021 Premier League Soccer. Prism, I should say, Premier League. And that was the breakaway edition with some incredible parallels. Highlighted by this Pulsar brown, looks like. Conor Gallagher, numbered out of 25. Right on. Alright, I'm going to flip the screen around again real quick. Hang on, guys. All right. Yeah, no big names, but it was a fun product. I've never ripped the Prism Premier League before, so definitely wanted to check that out because that showed up today. Okay, so No card show this coming weekend. The next card show is the weekend of Easter, which is April 3rd in Everett, Washington. I'm going to have more info on making the badges this coming week. Products coming out tomorrow. Absolute Basketball comes out. Absolute Memorabilia Basketball comes out. I don't have any coming until Thursday at the earliest. Actually, excuse me, it won't be here till Friday at the earliest because my supplier did not get theirs today. My eyes are starting to water. Oh, I'm getting tired. I was just gonna tell you guys something too. I'm gonna have to wait till social media to say it, I guess. Don't forget, we got breaks coming up in like 3 weeks. Okay? So break night's going to be Wednesday nights. So don't forget that, and then we're going to do our internal rewards program so that the people who are part of the breaks throughout the month and supporting everything are the ones who are rewarded. It's not going to be available to just anybody to walk in and scoop all the cost-friendly spots. Again, as always, guys, I appreciate you being on with me and putting up with me every week. And I will see you guys all here next week on Tuesday. And I will announce who the guest is for next week, probably before the weekend. All right, you guys have a good week and stay safe, everybody. Thanks a lot.